أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين aman saba man sakallan ki woten dunga jayi ay mbalunde fofu tan ñu ñew watola aman fa man sama fere ndinkenna tentro ne jayiro ko lambe junbe kafaro nin tanko dan labul mole meli alon ko man bi ñol lungo mabe no watola siyo kamala fasi ni su junbe kafaro la kullo junube banke junube ngamello junube to malo ngabara na joya kama fasa kafare ni asake ni baraji da far ngoti asilajan so ne ndiya kisi nemo dila melbe nemo kona nemo jidi melbe nemo tano kona sibondi je dundala arjana kono mbadi gambian ko ngal kontal to kendola anal konton sengola kabirin ko na fakato bakar flo bela dindin ke ba muskafrin ke melbe banko kan ane melbe banko e bantala alnal badi malem lamin sadam sanya aka badi mumansa mba fulale assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu mbadi ngol natale kam fan kacandi ka gambianol kacandi kula me yalon ko wala be kirin na banko kan me yalon ko bi wala diamobe siaring diamobe waralin bi menani update o men kila akola update dobe je nanaka min kenum kardantan ko manto ndo update ho la la nyin kan bari wo update o nyim men ngake nun kardantan ko manto ngay tandala tamna biye problème o men bala ay problème o men soto ngela diagnose ni wala mu yenti frontotemporal disorder dol ka ko mandi frontotemporal dementia. So banana title ni aji benko because of the frontotemporal disorder FTD that 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 is suffering from, he is definitely a threat to our national security. And as responsible National Assembly members, this moron should be impeached immediately. Idea moment for kunung brikama against our party leader Ba Hussein. Alawo diamo udiamo kurumbaleti hakilinta ya diamo ba mirabal ya diamo ba barning ayata 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 sa haklotu ba kede ntebe men fola gambianole ay nyin diamo men kidal kana mi la koma adalta la tole ya manya men na woda mallatende ay men o men fuja he mean it akanyin contrat ko men ke ntela nyin karo men anin juma le contrat ko sign pre ba usen fa janning election okasi anin jenele contrat ko sign pre ba usen fa janning election okasi bara kay wala fa yo sign ni wo fatala ma abita atanin jenele contrat ko nyin sign alankana nyin ta very lightly to lew men munyinti what he said he mean it kula mo nyinta si keno le fang yenyen kachala comme ibe kukela la ba fala nyame bal comme adala helebo kan adala suba kanja dame ba na ko na mi munya na nata ka fu mole in this way, but we are not going to take this lightly. Anything that happened to our party leader, you will be called responsible for it. Akamembe for the minute yalon ka mi tola mo ba tola mo tawla tola wal fana mati nak mu sinko si tola wal. So ini meliye nyin tafaw pour que kuke ba usenna anything kun ya soto you Adama Barrow, you'll be responsible for it. We will hold you account for it. Ngalo nela lulu flow man tango si nyaw nyaranding, but this one is too much. This one is too much. So Mbadigo, these are the things and the reasons why Nkafuko, I'm not going to blame 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 the way he is behaving. Then I diagnosed them. And this is what I believe in it. I could be wrong. But this is what I believe. Not diagnose yami. Because ni nata chube. Ko ngamen about this frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia, PTD. Ni nata chube. Muna what no be fali nga explain correctly. I think everybody will understand it. I do my best because when the count one the count can me calculator. But ngana best try to explain nwale in a way that for ala fahamu sina afutaje where the little me atinko ndala mirror on in Nigeria. This man is suffering from frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia. And nga dalilo lalandi symptom la karola. That is symptoms. All symptoms nkafo. Ninga afo nkafa ali adaji koto loko. Yaji nyin symptom ko daji ko men vole nyin daji ka kafin do nyin daji ka kan ngau su daji koto. So woto daji ko mba baji koto ni oni nyin symptom on jube ikalo na koto nya ato nya nyulde they are intact. So woto ya itando symptom on nyin ba daji koto. Ngabo je ngata another symptoms. Ni na ata jube nga symptoms gelle fo. Symptoms of this frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia. How many symptoms nga men fo jang? Meli alon kanati daji ko matched. A lot of them ibena daji ko matched. So what way I tell you na ko na mira roto. Na london dingo men so na do ko la karon. Nsa fo ko. This man is suffering from frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia. Because no one taka ak nyamate ak no la ujama. So al sa la moy hakilola, al kana la moy jusola. Ala la moy hakilola an kamen fo. Ali ye mira, aninka daji ko men fal, anin yina symptomo, and you combine them together, al fanga la decision of al fay. Al nal badi malam, lamin Saddam Sanyang, aka Balim Mansa, mba falali, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Yo amenta komen ko da la ngani tanda la komen ko you have different type of lobes in the brain, but among the four major lobes, the frontal lobes is the largest of the four major lobes of the brain. Yena na o frontal lobe jubi o frontal lobe wala katara komen brain ning fongola area yale ka komen bagoro fongo timidiro ya fongola jamen ka wala te the frontal lobes in tatara world. In frontal lobes, what is the responsibility of these frontal lobes? Because this frontal lobe, it's responsible for control over many abilities, including the way you think, how you move, and how you remember things. In frontal lobes, a teller responsibility is among or including the way you think, the way you move, and how you remember things. The way you including the way you think. Because normally, in normal circumstances, more like you think and then act. But sometimes, not sometimes, but most of the time, he act and after he think. Because why he acts and then he thinks. He never used his own brain to think. But he is using the brain of his people surrounding him. At a own brain user think. ya fa nyama tena ka wuli wala nyama kana tinange without using his because damn bala brain in code within these frontal lobes get this other subtle where atina te mira no la ni directly but ni me fonga ko mira nga jude ni na kulara wala nga ka janni na ka funtila ya fate nyama na ka funtina wala nya wala the most of the time kana nala ministers nala mole misinformation or the I know misinformation kana to misinform the public about it. So afterwards, I found I realized, hey, I don't know Bomotel. Na ke ba do la to buka Bomotel. Ni over is that ma sa ya nga kasotel. Afana ka to kasite wala jinsi fa lote. Because point dame ya lonko. Abenyi frontal lobe singono. Get this one solo. Problem all big. So what I can just think about and the more allow thinking your problems solo, only your move will have problems. Because you wouldn't move according. Yeah, and then from there, responsible how you remember things. How you remember things. There is some disorder in Tabinabia's brain, in his frontal lobes. Because wale atina, akanadu la ata kumo fujang, ay munna wodula kilometer sando wambankar do wamba lokundo, the same place to the same people ay kuma kilon fuja afang na kumo fanya yandi. He always keep on contradicting himself. Because a scenario la afale ten. Na bota ja muta nan koteke akanyi na complete la men funanjala. Abina kuma dola funa membi ya lonka abe contradict la. Again. Abe kuma dola funa kuma ya lonka wabe contradict la again. And because of that, what ka from contradict what nyame member what wala yin sabuko, this man is having frontotemporal disorder, frontotemporal dementia, because yin is another part of symptom of it. It's part of them. Yana temporal lobes, very frontal and temporal. Konga funyame ye wole join together equal frontotemporal disorder. That is the frontal lobes and temporal lobes. Ilado kwe wole ikamenke la responsibility. Ni wole ka funyome la responsibility momenti ni wole problem also to wole ka frontotemporal disorder cause. So, how to call it? Frontal lobes. Saying temporal lobes. Temporal lobes, the temporal lobes of your brain is a pair of areas on your brain's left and right side. These areas, which are inside your skull, near your temple and ears, they are playing another role. Walka role si fala play hadamande ngola brain yin kono. Hadamande ngola moyato. Ika role men play well. Number one, managing your emotions. 2, processing information from your senses. 3, storing and retrieving memories and understanding language. Yena ifana. Purikolo fana domando mambona le yo. Audio la jalfoka. Managing your emotions. Jela ka mola emotional manage. Where to make emotional always is intact. But whenever there is a disorder in it, as frontotemporal disorder, frontotemporal dementia, disorder ni menkataraje wala atinela emotional be careful emotional control no. What the emotional control bali ankawle jaji koto day and night. Another role is processing information from your senses. Often there is a disorder in it. Wele atinam ala senses all book function correctly. Ko nyanta function nyame. Ka kuol prioritize ka kuol mina janni ba kala ka kuol tenten ka juwe ni enfo abe na mola abe mune lale kan emotionally, mentally, physically as a mune kino. He mbadun kana nyinkel because ninko me nyinkela sama na banko mola be kala nyade ninko me nyinfola sama na banko mol mu banko ko tangol be jela nyade nte fongola dimba yal mol be jela jaba hannin tete jam nko mo be kala nyade ya jela. The processing of that information from the senses, disorder in the walata bukol fana keno correctly. Another one is storing and retrieving memories and understanding language. Memories what are because ni memories bala biya ta fula jan dundun sama ita fujan danda. Because brain damage kauto ma ni ko jan dunno ko ba fa danda sa no ke ko de kunu ko jan dundu isa eshi ariero te fa yamo ya fu ye dunno. No. Because disorder level brain now joined. Because of that disorder, because of that frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia member akon wala ati na ko jan dundu sa se mun ya ta jan fu ye danda ta lonna comment ko what is the difference between that dundung and the danda that he was saying to the people. Yeah, in symptom often molka called all misunderstood. For example, family members will and friends will they think, hey, this person is misbehaving. They don't take it seriously. But if they don't take it seriously, that misbehaving, it is leading to anger, and that anger is leading to conflicts. That anger is leading to conflict. Because of that behavior, it's leading to anger. Go anger sutala diam nyato mobile. Nobody can dispute that. Ala diam nyala anger yinka fintinye fo mobe kalong ye yimbe kamfal. And that's part of the symptom of frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia. Wo anger nye wale atina. If you could remember, prior to mayoral election, I believe, buva sono takala moleko alsi fundi masa kundantele bala koma mendi atala ala fali yake mbala koma ngalba anga nyela the same anga la tinga benyin tomen koruto bilafuna badiba ka foiko woto fana ko nimanyina kirwana. I'm not very much sure. I'm ready to be corrected, but nimanyina gela maka foi damen na ko al fundi MPP nkolo nimya yal ningalien hen ale sabikale kelen mbala ko man tamazo kunda ntele masa kunda tundumbala ko mbala fasala that leading to more conflict, and it's part of the syndrome. Because nyatonka kendo wamba me fanki nyatonko de hani se fanki nyatonko ti nyanyao nyatonka kendo ka menke janni ba fole la mole ko alfunta le klel ita fole ko mbe luwa banko to nimme yal ne ngali samba luwa to ngata kikyo to for example Mr. Dabo ka kenya nyatonka kendo ka wala andu yite fawol ka boss ka foko ite la marta tolla anin oppositional be ka fro so wato ni wa be ke to ite ni utolling oppositional be ka fro mu ite la dimbayal wato ni ko la NPP ko le ko nimme yale ndeng teng wata afo alfana ko wata alfana kana nyulu ndeng hada alfa tilin dum kama wala bal alfa jenkeron ko tafo alfa jenkeron ko montayga wala kan ni sifa ni lafta tonya sabatin lebe wala kelam. But ko back to topic nying symptoms so me yalon ko nying frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia is part of the syndrome me yalon ko akanin cause nying frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia often it's divided into 3 categories. Number 1, you have behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia. Number 2, you are having primary progressive aphasia. And number 3, you are having movement disorder. And you sabo be a besoto. Any sabo based solo. But B, I just only want to talk about the first one. But you sabo be, believe me, if I go one by one, it's not beta nila, nobody can dispute it because I'll be gelala, I'll be sutela manyalto. But the first one remember atalaji among them go well frontotemporal disorder in number one behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia me wal talaji me diamla wala bi me diamla wala bi because ni na taw kono behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia wal kono fala go ya juba kamuneke. It involves in past changes of personality. Mobe o sute tamna biya jikotol. Biya fin sama e ko sininda netamu. Changes of personality. Yin is another symptom of behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia. Changes of personality. Changes of behavior. No follow. Konga experience. Often is part of this. And changes of judgment, behavior and judgment. Judgment jang abe menke ka manje komenko kiti moto kiti menke. But komenko ateka mol jube tena wamba kemira mola la emo judge kalbeten. Without having any clue, without having any proof, without any truth in it. No. Ake mina tenga kaola kadunte bafla kallano. Kamira kanyol bit karbit me alon ko tonya ta kono. Mil bebe symptom on kono. This frontotemporal dementia ala symptom on min bebe wala kono. And the model meje meli alon ko they having this disorder may have problem with cognition. Ika cognition problem of la sotola. And the moto deny no la tamina biya la karola. And they also having problem in planning and sequencing thinking through which step come first and second. Which step namanke simfanyada ma you can take that also as an example. Sinju mala follow bita bulu mala fo mala bala which step one bang komen kap kuolu la enyanta kata nyame. Nibe ko kele nyinga nyanta follow la okola nyiya na ki do kola ka nyiya na ko diamola ka ro safero la kalo. He has having problem with that also, and that's another symptom of this frontotemporal dementia. Another symptom there is also difficulty in prioritizing tasks and activities. Nkajele is prioritize everything. Alado ko Kenya, ala Kenya, he's misprioritizing them. Memu banko dingo la priority. Abuka walke do ko Kenya. Atakaji bele membenta fe. Whether that is the priority we need, priority that is needed or not, woman can't have a problem today. So more can I blame? It is part of the symptoms bala, this frontotemporal dementia. Najero don't go for that. And among those symptoms also, repeating the same activities or saying the same words over and over. Wolfana is part of the symptoms. Moka mensoto no nyinkono. Lungo jako na ta ala to auto na wulda. Munam daboten UDP thing, daboten UDP. He is repeating the same thing. Nganyina doku, ngasalo doku, ngasilo doku, ngasalo doku, ngasilo. He is repeating the same thing. Nga karamu ngoche wile kile nga karamu wilu nga karamu so sa halala insilo for ako classroom tang akawal dala every day meaning some kono classroom kemelu classroom moi 520 classroom a year akaka walalo because classroom 10 a week 52 weeks in a year 52 by 10 it is 520 classrooms in a year. I mean at the moment. So yeah, the nymphana is part of the symptom. Repeating the same activities and the same words over and over and over. and the symptom ko nyim fana be jele acting impulsively or saying or doing inappropriate things without considering how other perceives the behaviors nyimbala ko ibe kumo fola wambe kuwol kila without ke mira ka he nte be nyimmen ke ka wamba be nyimmen fokan abe munati nyala kare bala wamman kar nyulo wamba nyin ka fukara wamba nam banko mol abe bulala ine mun foni position abe mun kelel physically mentally emotionally abe mun kela mol e ko miro to because brain damage yalon ko sama man de ka hey kana nyin keten kana nyin foten disorder be wolto wala ta ko miro so na te ka anata la nyako da ko no nyama ka fo le nyama. It's another symptom of this behavior, of this frontotemporal dementia. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين ngaman saba man saka lanci woten to ngaje ya en balonde fofutata nyunyo wato la aman fa man fen o feren din kenna tenturo ni jeyro ko lambe junube kafaro nin tanko dan labul mole mele yalon ko binyol lungo imama be no wato la siyo kamala fo asin so junube kafaro la kullo junube banke junube ngamello junube to malo ngabara na joya kama alama ala ya kafar ni asakin ni balaji la farmot asilajon so ne ndi akisin nemo dila melbe nemo kono nemo jide melbe nemo tano kono asibondi je ay dundala aljano kono mbaɗi ngam yankolu ngal konton alto kendo la anal konton senon la kabilin koy na fokato mbakara flo bela dindin keba muskafrin ke melbe banko kan anin melbe banko e bantala alnal baɗi ma lamin sadam sanya aka baɗi mansa mba falali assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu e mbaɗigol nimme na titleoji bi ngame safije walanko I don't blame 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 the way he is behaving because I believe that he is suffering from frontotemporal disorder, FTD. In frontotemporal disorder, dolka afaye frontotemporal dementia. Dementia wala nyenti comme dole bi jama keba koto la ka wala mutabake melialon ko comme nin keba tata fo wati do isaje hakilo sondomo ka mun nan dindi yato akati na kodolu biji kanyina walla wamban kodolu biji ike fo imanya me yalon ko normal in normal circumstances ito wala fola amman kodolu biji ke me yalon ko in normal circumstances ito wala kela dementia. But this FTD, frontotemporal disorder or temporal dementia, 60% of people are kamel muta will see okatara between 45 years and 64 years. 60% of the people suffering from frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia, they are between the ages of 45 to 64 years. And Nina Rakuls, Tamina Bia, a age is between 45 and 64. This is proof one. Me kajalisa alamoini hakilola, alkana alamoini gisola. But mbe alamoini hakilola me monfala. Pour me fanna ma ko kan. Pour un salo mu mosi fala be nyato. Andon salo tolinyanta muneke la sai. Men sin tankano ando men sa te fana tankano fana. So in frontotemporal disorder, muna wati. Atalo ko akake muneke it damages akake is alarisol kakement damage to the neurons in the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain. The brain in different lobes in the but there are 4 major lobes, and in those 4 major lobes fulabeje me yalonko frontal lobe and temporal lobes will be wala joint kera janka diamo menna wala tiko frontotemporal disorder. Frontal lobe and temporal lobes. So that two joint, frontal and temporal joint, can jang eco frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia. But nyato domande mbina auto fana bondela li nyoto le domandi. So yeah, nying ala possible symptoms on me ke ge isi sotono medol fulale auto fana. Walkono is including unusual behaviors. Menga jele tamnabia is having unusual behaviors. Wato dobe ni ata amanya do like isafo ko he nyimu annabi ombol. Wato dobe isafo nyimu salihino. But wato dobe isana nyim fai fenchola how to call it what kalamin bang wa bang ay nyamo sab. Ala different behaviors akawole litande. So ya nyim fana symptom wala be wala ko including unusual behaviors. Symptom wala ko nyim fana be emotional problems afala be symptom ko ndenga jala emotional problem also wala atina emotional problem so much so that lungo men nal ka remember no abe doctor sisi jabi la wato men na aka fo because what ala emotion be jamento abe kamfara juso but he was having a really big emotional problem at that point. And because of what emotional problem ni na takol wala do wato do be na be diam kan aka kamfe kaja ka bulo fay sande ka mi na komen nin je ko ya na akema ne wonde musolo muta je no la be o senka mol marché de silo ka bulo wala nyame wato do be na be diam ka bulo ko nyame because of emotional problems and that's another symptoms of this frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia. Among other words, you also have trouble with communicating. Trouble with communicating. And no, nobody can dispute that Tamanabe is having trouble with communicating. Either in a sentence form, either even in a sense form. Kila hakilo use ko hakile maya kafo. Ubhanabuga, but what if I'm mina wato nyato domande na diamo nyinkono. No bataje na odi labang na député bungo molo ngalo na aliye mol felle woefully many a times but ning ayata aliye sofa ali alla do ko long ali alla do ko no ali silanta alala wallahi billahi nyanta ni impeach la immediately because I see from I kulle na constitution of tinyan ne many times tinyanya na ya itande comme ka nyanta ka impeach but na député wala barakanta ya excuse me, ila sofa baldiya anula hada mo kan fenta fona flo ay karakil mo be ke mo le wulot karakil be ke da wuliya folati karakil be ke da faniya fasa lati min banku kendolem don ko me yalon ko député kendole beje député sobe le beje min yalon ko ila do ko nole ka tamanda yal den ni banda ni impeach long time député le mele sofa mele hamo soto mele silanta alala mele yalon kon te dan nañin duniya jam be futala alkiyama le fana konti bole ben ñaato oto fana bar député le mele yalon ko to man ke fenti bar mele carte o fayi e to ni adam baro bebe do ko la wolle député mele o long wolte sonna ñi sifa e ke wo banko kan ya to ñama bar alta sofa la gambe député o gambe député o alhamentan dinno alta sofa la billah wallahi alta sofa la alta sofa ko so buka fali ngonsi may billahi ni alta be sofa la nun wallahi ko be même fo kam benum bi kuna même fo ato fala nun because alto pareta bal no long time nyim manki politique côté nyim mu banko la ko this has to do with national security When it comes to national security, you should all forget about your political party affiliation and come together as one Gambia. Gambia is bigger than UDP. Gambia is bigger than NPP. Gambia is bigger than DOI. Gambia is bigger than NRB and all other political parties. So when it comes to national security, you should all come together and one. Ka Gambia je. But nika ili alla kuta je. Ala fangol la kuwa e siwato men. Kuwa men bale sevola. Waka ke lord la clean de tam. Ale abusa e tam. But banko la tinya. Kuwa men si banko tinyandi no. Kuwa men si banko halaki no. Kuwa men si banko mala no. Ni wabeke kan ale dabu ti tek ko jutalong. Ale betem konde. Mena yin kumolo la janne. Na few months ago nga audio update me yalonko nga Adama Barrow diagnosed he is suffering from frontotemporal disorder or frontotemporal dementia mbakila na Afrika. But momo yen nañu update la moy mansula billahi wallahi tallahi ngon kale sabola billahi wallahi tallahi mansula moyen kumandi ya fanye ko bari kan fatale mansula moyen kumandi ya fanye yemen foy juso bodal billahi wallahi tallahi ngan kale sabol moyen kumandi ko juso bodal be kumala fole me yalon ko atediya le woto mo kanam kumandi de ka fanye sabare billahi wallahi taala momo ya fanye mbe kuma fole jam fo kan si kuma foye jam fo kan ba nimbe dale da mba farala foy tul hudan oto man lafinyina ambalu te tarlan ni motema abu nyata tarlan ni motema a horomata tarlan ni motema nimme yankubande ka fo nyeju so bata jun ko la may jaade billahi ndo ni ngay jaabe mari kala fo nyako yendo yal okay mbada na janne men na audio la nyinka ala baraka ni wo bodaje the interior minister in IGP mbal tolleno what are your take on this alna security board alalonko Adama Barrow is not above the law. Everybody is below the law. So alta fola law ka bala film kumol fo wati o wati ka rubbish kumo fo gamyanole kuma kangome yalonko ase finno wulindi bankoka kuma kangome yalonko ase molu dundi no nyola ate kamel kuma ndala kora wala alta kuma bole ngala alto le pareta pour ka loi datinan ka fo mol mel yalonko kuma jawole ba fo kam pour ka loi le kule be jaw yala katami ni yenyi men fotal ni atal balla do ko kila nyama bibi la la tan at this moment de i janta tala ni nyini ka kan Mr. Toure IGP problème o be bulle men warta de ni mo dole mu mba jube la nyakili na la balankete jube nyafulal la because mba ijube la nyame na konka dole jube men na wamba kombe dole jube la nyame na wala nyindi telam IGP ila do ko monete nyinjon bar nyafula nyawme mbuka mol jube la mbete jibe la wala nyindi ni ma ta nyama mba fala la ko wamba sinyi mira no le ko hanna to nyama mol sa mira no ndu moto mol na ka foko because abita na ma do ko le kela ko wala atinna aka defend alinga silang alala interior minister IGP alala mol al silang alala ali ekal alquran wala la ko albedo ko tabandi la tilingo konole altemo fa sala ji tusuna da woto alla do ko menta ala tamande de alla do ko momenti ala tamande nin Adam Barrow kana alo kanyin nonsense ma nyal fo banko kan ka banko di ngol nen ka banko molu nen kabla al falla o nyama niye mu ne fo ala nyim kuma kanwo a jawi ya batale ka fo komen ko aya sign jannate kabo nit ñi fata o ko wala la te president na ate o sen ñadi bayde ala niyoto mo la niyoto mo bulde mo la niyo be ala la bulu ando ala ko kullu nafsin za'ikatul maut nila mao nila ma bebe saya kuna nema wato nila mao nila ma ka nganya modo la saya nya ite nyon tole o te kere nan kay moy bunya hala almani man ka farkira bunjila ka wandola ako mo man tole ya kata me mola me alon ka nganya modo la saya nin kana kanyin nonsense kumol fadan annu altol ka lafta ka kayro tam sabatinde banko ga altol ya mira wo barakale bal tol la bang minister interior minister alnin sojarol be mumo alnin all the other security panel kala IGP wo barakale bal la bang pour ka kayro sabatinde no banko kan nim me yalon ka tele banko alfat wato wata ka finno wulinde banko ka bal alta fam tol stop la bidigo no mota ndol tan ala no ka fof natati ya kira ya ta mala wamba alenga tababula itala fulo be faala ntakala barona la molta tala ni nonsense ma jang kala wat o wati ku jawta kere buka men fo ku be jawta kere men buka boy da kono ku buka boje bade kumo me yalanka man jaw ya ko to taka jaw ya jame nimmo ku dangole afali ol kuma de fo question we are not going to accept it excuse me aliye kala kurano la kalbe tamandiro Allah do ko kala tonya ale kan nali ta keno la la filibu dinke jale bo mole je ban mole na je mel yalon ko woli amire yalon ko ben ko ba keno la tonya ale kan nali ta keno la tonya kan ali shala le bo je way baralta taraje jubur la yakan aliya fo mo kan sangol membe kontene nyol kawol threaten wala kuma kaw me kafo bar kuma kaw men jaw ya to si nya wala kale wasu ba nyin da kono lungolu ay kareti yang ayla annu mole mele ba se wo joyndo mele kalo e ka bulo kosi wala fa tole ya takata mi adam baro fa adam baro tole ya tale bayre momo ka hadama de la saya momo ko keti dara o tete nyum tole o te ken because saya te fon kal bare ite ka ni la tole ya nyonya mele kalo e ka bulo kosi wala na mata kata mi tole what I hope and I pray interior minister in IGP you have the gut pour ka funde ka kuke nyi joento